بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Bidayat al-Hikmah. We finished Marhala Tasa'a, 9th section. Now we are starting 10th section. Al-Marhala al-Ashira fil Quwwati wal-Fi'l, which is about potentiality and actuality. وَفِيهَا 16 فَصْلًا, and there are 16 chapters. This discussion is very important because it will also involve discussion about haraka, motion, and about harakat al-jawhari, about zaman, time. And it is known that the late Ayatollah Mutahari, when was writing the footnotes for Usul Falsafe wa Ravesh Realism, Allama Tabatabai has a book called Usul Falsafe wa Ravesh Realism, means principles of philosophy and method of realism. Ayatollah Mutahari has footnotes, like comments, to explain or also to express maybe his ideas or new ideas. So it's a very good book and very good like commentary. But when it reached the section about Quwwa and Fi'l, it was very difficult. And he took Allama Tabatabai from Qom to Tehran to stay with him for some time, so that he can ask him and then be able to make sure that he understood Allama properly and then write this. And I think this part was very much delayed in publication. But Quwwa and Fi'l. It also somehow is related to physics. Some of the issues is related to physics. So, trusting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and asking for His support and guidance, and also hoping that inshallah you would do proper study and mubahasa, we start the section. Al-Marhalatul Ashara fil Quwwati wal Fi'l. Fi'l here doesn't mean act, although sometimes in Arabic we say fail in the sense of act, or sometimes fail means verb. For example, in sarf and nahv, fail means verb. Yeah, sometimes fail means act, but here fail means actuality. If something exists in the external world, fil kharij, in the real objective external world, if something exists and has effects, we can say this is fail. For example, you have a doctor who is trained and can see patients and prescribe. This is actually a doctor. He's an actual doctor. He's tabibun bil fi'l. But sometimes a person is studying medicine. He's a prospective doctor. He has not yet become doctor, yeah? So we say tabibun bil quwwa. Means potentially he is tabib. But sometimes this potentiality is very close to actuality. Like for example, he is in the final year or final semester, or he's in internship. بالقوة القريبة من الفعل. Yeah, means it's potentially doctor, but very close to becoming actually a doctor. But sometimes is ba'id, it's far. Like he has just been admitted to medical college. You know? There's still few years to come. So, وجود الشيء في الأعيان بحيث تترتب عليه آثاره المطلوبة منه يسمى فعلا. Existence of something in a'yan. A'yan means among real things. Yeah? A'yan is plural for ain, means a'yan kharijiyya, means real objects, real things that exist. If something exists, for example, you know, we have door, we have carpet, we have camera, we have computer, we have desk, and then we have, for example, actual, say, doctor, actual teacher, actual student, which is functioning, which has the effects that we expect from something which is actually doctor or student. This is called فعل. وجود الشيء في الأعيان بحيث تترتب عليه آثاره المطلوبة منه. In the way that the effects of that thing which are expected from it تترتب, follow. Yeah, so it comes with the effect. What do you expect from, for example, an actual apple? What do you expect from an actual flower, from an actual tree, from an actual doctor, an actual engineer? What do you expect? Those effects should be there. If it's like this, يسمى فعلا. We say this is fail to this existence. ويقال إن وجوده بالفعل. They say its existence is بالفعل, means it's actual. وإمكانه الذي قبل تحققه. But the possibility of having this before it comes to happen, it's called قوة. قوة here doesn't mean power. Sometimes قوة means power. Sometimes قوة means faculty. Yeah, for example, for soul, we have different faculties. Here, قوة doesn't mean power. قوة doesn't mean faculty. قوة means potentiality. وإمكانه الذي قبل تحققه يسمى قوة. ويقال إن وجوده بالقوة بعده. It is said its existence is yet potential. بعده, yet. Why we say yet? Because this is for something which is moving to that direction and has already started the process. You don't say to a baby, newborn baby, that it is potentially a doctor. Okay, potential doctor. But you say, for example, for a medicine student, yeah, it has to be somehow close to that process, not something. Or for example, you know, say this food which possibly becomes a human being, and that human being possibly with a study and possibly becomes, you know, for example, a jurist. So we can say this is potentially a jurist. No. Although you can say it has the imkan, it has the possibility, but it has not yet started the process. يقال إن وجوده بالقوة بعده. They say its existence is still potential. Like what? A very simple example that every day happens is like water. ذلك كالماء يمكن أن يتبدل هواء. Water can become steam. Yeah, air means steam. As long as it is water, we can say it's actually water, potentially steam. When you boil it and becomes steam, then it is actually steam. And because it might be possible, sometimes it's possible to reverse, sometimes it's not possible to reverse. But if it is possible to reverse, we can say it's actually steam, potentially water, because you can, yes, make it cool and then becomes again water. Yeah? This is the way they make rose water. You know how they make rose water? So they put rose flower in a special container and boil it. They boil it, then a steam takes the substance of rose flower with it, but it's just through a steam. Then it goes through some pipes, and then they make it cold. It becomes water, but that water is smelling very nice. Yeah, it's not just they mix it; it's very pure because it has become steam. And then, if they want to have very good rose flower, very good quality, what they do, again, this water, they boil it again, make it a steam, and then make it liquid. They call it do ateshe. Gulab do ateshe. So if you go to buy, in Kashan or somewhere, you can ask for gulab do at. Means it's twice has gone to this process.
It's not very strong.
Yes, it's very pure and very strong. So, steam has the potential of becoming liquid. Liquid has potential of becoming steam. Okay? فإذا تبدل هواء صار هواء بالفعل. If water becomes steam, so it is actually a steam. وبطلت القوة. Then potentiality is finished. When it is actually a steam, you cannot say it's potentially a steam. Yeah? Water had potentiality of becoming a steam. But a steam, it's not potentially a steam. Can you say a steam is potentially a steam? Qawwa is when there is no actuality. فمن الوجود ما هو بالفعل ومنه ما هو بالقوة. So some of the beings are بالفعل, actual, some of them are potential. And this is why we study in philosophy, because we said in philosophy we talk about general classifications of existence. الوجود إما خارجي أو ذهني. الوجود إما واحد أو كثير. الوجود إما نفسي أو رابط. الوجود إما سابق أو متأخر. الوجود إما بالقوة أو بالفعل. والقسمان هما المبحوث عنهما في هذه المرحلة. These two types of existence, بالقوة and فعل, are discussed in this section. So in مرحلة العاشرة, in the 10th section, we talk about وجود بالقوة and وجود بالفعل and the process of changing from قوة to فعل. Okay? Are you actually happy or potentially happy? Actually, alhamdulillah. And potentially? Potentially happier.
Depends on the score.
Of course, potentially also unhappy. Al-Fasl al-Awwal. The first chapter. So this was introduction, yeah? The first chapter, which is very important point. كل حادث زماني مسبوق بقوة الوجود. كل حادث زماني, every temporal created thing is preceded by potentiality of existence. What does it mean? It means for everything to be created in time, you need first to have its qawwah. First, there should be potentiality for it. Nothing comes without potentiality of it. And this potentiality is not just probability or possibility. This is a real, it's existential. This is a very important point that inshallah it becomes clear. That Allama says this is not something which is just our analysis. That we say, okay, this is going to happen tomorrow, so today is potential. Like for example, let me give you a few examples. For example, we say this country is potentially very advanced, very rich. When can you say this? When there are some indicators. It has not yet become rich, but you see there are good resources, there are good plans, and if things go well, you cannot say 100%, but it seems that if things go well, it becomes like that. Like you have a sapling, for tree, you have a sapling, it looks okay. You say, potentially it will bear fruits. But I cannot look at a rock and say, potentially it will bear fruits. And say, how? It says, this, becomes soil after 3,000 years, and then this soil can become, for example, absorbed by the root of a tree, and then, become a seed, and then the seed is planted, That's not what we are talking about. So, when something has beginnings of that form that you are talking about, like it's in kind of embryonic stage, we can say it's bil quwwah. So this quwwah is different from just philosophical supposition that something is possible. It is existential, and the reason for being existential is that it can become stronger and stronger. It's not just either it is or it is not. Imkan zati doesn't have degrees. Imkan zati, either it is mumkin or wajib. This imkan has degrees. كل حادث زماني فإنه مسبوق بقوة الوجود. Hadith zamani means something created in time, means there was a time that this didn't exist. It is different from hadith zati or hadith dahri. كل حادث زماني فإنه مسبوق. It is preceded by what? قوة الوجود. Potentiality of existence. Means it was not there, but its قوة was there. لأنه قبل تحقق وجوده يجب أن يكون ممكن الوجود. Because before its existence comes to reality, it must be ممكن الوجود. It must be possible to exist. يجوز أن يتصف بالوجود كما يجوز أن لا يوجد. It's contingent, ممكن. It can exist. It can also be non-existing. So it was possible. But if it was ممتنع, could it exist later? No. as لو كان ممتنع الوجود, if it was impossible to exist, استحال تحققه, it was impossible to happen. Also, if it was واجب الوجود, if it was واجب الوجود, could not be حادث زمانی, because حادث زمانی is preceded by its Adam. واجب الوجود cannot be non-existing and then comes to existence. Yeah? So حادث is ممكن. It cannot be ممتنع, it cannot be واجب. كما أنه لو كان واجبا لم يتخلف عن الوجود. If it was واجب, it was impossible not to exist. لكنه ربما لم يوجد وإمكانه هذا غير قدرة الفعل له. So this was not existing, so it was ممكن, because if it existed, it's واجب, always has to exist. If it didn't exist, it's not واجب and it's not ممتنع. But this إمكان is different from ability of agent or doer to do it, to bring it to existence. We are, as I said, this quwwah is not power. Philosophers, in order to, and mutakallimin, in order to avoid confusion, when they talk about power of God, they say what? Qudra. They don't say quwwah. Although in the Quran we have both Qadir and Qawi. Qawiyun Aziz, yeah, or Awala Kulli Shay'in Qadir. What's the difference? It seems there is not that much difference in Arabic, because Qawi means strong, Qadir means capable of doing something. So it seems they are very similar. Unless you say that in Qadir more focus is given to doing something, for example. Anyway, we have both. But in Kalam, when we talk about qualities of God, normally they don't say Qudra, they say Qudra. Yeah? Because if they say Qudra, maybe it would be mistaken by what philosophers say, Qudra opposite to fair. So, إمكانه هذا غير قدرة الفاعل عليه. This possibility of something which is potential is different from the power of fa'il, because قوة is a property for what? قوة, for the object. But قدرة is for fa'il. Yeah? For example, you are working on a piece of paper to make a painting. This blank paper, this plain and blank paper, is potentially a painting, potentially. So, you have also power to make it a painting. So, you have قدرة, and this paper has quwwah. Yeah? Means this paper has potentiality of becoming painting, and you have power to paint. You understand the difference? Or for example, if we have good professors and good laboratory, good library, we are able to train doctors. So we have qudra to train doctors. But our students have quwwah to become doctors. Yes? So in order to have good doctors, what we need? We need good students and good professors. Sometimes we don't have one of them, sometimes we don't have both of them. Yes? So, you understand the difference between qudra and quwwah? إمكانه هذا غير قدرة الفاعل عليه. This imkan, this potentiality that is possible to exist, is different from the power of fa'il over this. Power can do it. Is capable of doing it. لأن إمكان وجوده وصف له بالقياس إلى وجوده لا بالقياس إلى شيء آخر كالفاعل. إمكان is wasf, is a quality for this. We say this paper has imkan of becoming a painting. So it's a property or quality for this. But in Qudra, you say fa'il with respect to this paper has Qudra. Yeah? So هو على كل شيء قدير. So you always relate and measure Qudra with something. Qudra of what? Yeah? Fa'il has Qudra of what? Of painting. Is it clear? So one of them is Qudra, it's for itself to become something else. But Qudra is to make something different. To bring change to something. وهذا الإمكان. This imkan is not only a kind of analysis, intellectual analysis. It's not tahleel aqli. It is amrun khariji. It's existential matter. It's a reality. هذا الإمكان أمر خارجي لا معنى عقلي اعتباري. This is an existential thing, not just a concept which is rationally understood. It is i'tibari, means it has no basis in the real world. I'tibari has different meanings, but here means something that it is only happening in the mind. لا معنى عقلي اعتباري لاحق بماهية الشيء, which is attached to mahiyya, because every mahiyya has imkan, contingent. That contingency doesn't is not attached to the real thing. Everything, like zawjiyat, is zawjiyat a kind of attachment to 4? No. 4 is even, but this being even is not additional. Yeah? It is something, if you remember, we said it is mahmulun min samimeh, not mahmulun bizamimeh. Yeah, there are two types of mahmul. Bizamimeh or min samimeh. Min samimeh means you extract it from its essence through intiza'. But mahmul bizamimeh means it is attached and you have to do tajreed. Extraction and separation are different. When you peel apple, you do tajreed. But when you extract juice, you do intiza'. Of course, I am simplifying it, but because even extracting juice is a kind of separation, but just to make it simple. You understand the difference? Yes. So, which one you like? Juice or peeled apple?
I like the real apple.
With
the skin.
With the skin. That's good. It's good to eat fruits with the skin after washing. Okay. So, this is amrun kharijiyun. It is different from imkan zati, which is just tahleel aqli. Yeah? What is your argument? If you ask Allama Tabatabai, what is your argument for saying that this is existential? It is not just something that we are extracting by analysis. The reason for being existential is that it has intensity. It becomes sometimes stronger and stronger. Imkan Zati doesn't have different degrees. لأنه يتصف بالشدة والضعف والقرب والبعد. Sometimes you have a strong potentiality, sometimes you have weaker, sometimes you have very near. It's very near. Like last semester of medical degree. It's very near. Yeah, sometimes it's ba'id. He's just accepted. Yeah. فالنطفة التي فيها إمكان أن يصير إنسانا أقرب إلى الإنسانية من الغذاء الذي يتبدل النطفة. غذاء means food. غذاء. نطفة, like a sperm or zygote, can become a human being. Food also can become a human being. You remember we said, according to Ayatollah Mutahari, for Harakat al-Jawhari, he has this very clear example. He says the same meat and vegetable can become a human being. Because soul is a product of substantial motion of the body. Soul does not belong from outside. Unlike previous philosophers who believe that ruh is Rawhaniyatul Huduth. Mullah Sadra says, no, it is Jismaniyatul Huduth. They agree that it is Rawhaniyatul Baqa. As soon as it comes to existence, it is a spiritual. But previous ones, they said, from beginning it's a spiritual, or even some people said it used to exist before body and then belongs to body. But Mullah Sadra says, no. Before body, we don't have a spirit. And also a spirit is not separate from body. So that Allah at a certain stage creates the spirit and belong to the body, or body belongs to it. Through process of body, a spirit comes like a fruit. ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا. Not that we created a spirit and then fixed them together. Okay? So, this food can become a human being. Zygote also can become a human being. Do you see difference between the two? Zygote is much closer. The potentiality is much stronger and it is much closer. Al-imkanu fiha ashaddu minhu fihe. Imkan in nutfah is ashaddu min al-imkan fil ghidha. Okay? وإذ كان هذا الإمكان أمرا موجودا في الخارج فليس جوهرا قائما بذاته. Okay. Now that it exists outside, there are two possibilities. To be Jawhar or Aras. Is it Jawhar? Is it a substance that exists by itself? Separate? No, it's not Jawhar. Because it is a property for that food or nutfah, yeah? So it's not Jawhar, it is Aras. وَإِذْ كَانَ هَذَا الْإِمْكَانُ أَمْرًا مَوْجُودًا فِي الْخَارِجِ فَلَيْسَ جَوْهَرًا قَائِمًا بِذَاتِهِ. And since this imkan is something which is existential and exists in the external world, so it cannot be, not the next question is that it is not a substance which is self-subsistent. وَهُوَ ظَاهِرٌ. Because if it was Jawhar, had to be like, you have two things. You have a nutfah and next to it another substance. بَلْ هُوَ عَرَزٌ. Instead it is araz, it's accident. قَائِمٌ بِشَيْءٍ آخَر. Araz always needs jawhar. Yeah, aras has to depend on a subject, a jawhar. فَلْنُسَمِّهِ قُوَّةً. We call this imkan, which is wujudi, قوة. وَلْنُسَمِّ مَوْضُوعَهُ. That jawhar, that subject, that this aras belongs to it, we call it madde. Madde is the carrier of quwwah. Madde, carrier of quwwah. Hamilul quwwah. Mawdu'ul quwwah. So, a very important conclusion. فَإِذَنْ لِكُلِّ حَادِثٍ زَمَانِيٍّ مَادَّةٌ سَابِقَةٌ عَلَيْهِ. First we said every hadith zamani masbuqun bil quwwa. Now we added not only masbuqun bil quwwa, but also there must be a madda who carries that quwwa. Yeah? Do you get?
Yeah.
It's very...
Like the paper has the mother carrier of the quwwah.
Madda is very important. فَإِذَنْ لِكُلِّ حَادِثٍ زَمَانِي. For every temporal created thing, maddatun. Madda, matter. Yeah? You know, madda surat, when we're talking. Maddatun sabiqatun alay. Precedes this hadith. So before this hadith comes, there was quvva for this hadith. And that quvva needs madda. Tahmilu. That madda tahmilu. قوة وجوده. That madde carries potentiality, قوة, for existence of this. So nutfa has قوة for human being. So nutfa becomes madde. Potentiality cannot exist in vacuum. Potentiality is aras, needs a jawhar. Okay? Now, this madde should be potential, because when becomes actual, then potentiality is finished. You cannot say something is actual and at the same time potential. Yeah? Actual and potential cannot be together. يجب أن تكون المادة غير آبية. Abi in Farsi means blue, color. Blue means abi. And also abi means something related to water. But in Arabic, abi comes from aba, ya'ba, iba'an, means to refuse, to hesitate. Aballah and yujri al-umura illa bi-asbaba. Aba, ya'ba. Or for example, Imam Hussein said, ya'ballahu dhalika lana wa rasuluhu wal mu'minun wa hujurun tabat wa tahurat. Yeah? So, iba in Arabic means to refuse, to hesitate. Aba wastakbara. So, madde has to be not abi. Ghayru abi means should not hesitate, should not be refusing fi'liya. Okay? غير عابية عن الفعلية التي تحمل إمكانها. This madde which is carrying the قوة for فعلية should not be against that فعلية. Yeah? It should be possible. And how can you say nutfa is insan bil قوة, but nutfa can never become insan? It's not. فهي في ذاتها قوة الفعلية التي فيها إمكانها. So, in its essence, has قوة for that actuality that it has potentially. إذ لو كانت ذات فعلية. So now you understand why we talk about this. It's all because of this sentence. If it was already actual, then it cannot take it again. For a human being who is actually a human being, you cannot say it is bilquv a human being, or it has madde for human being. It's already a human being. This is tahsilul hasil. When fi'liyat is there, then there is no qawwa. Yeah? Can you say the liquid is bilquv a liquid? No. إذ لو كانت ذات فعلية في نفسها. If it had فعلية, if it had actuality, it would not accept another actuality. Unless these actualities are not conflicting with each other. For example, sometimes something is liquid, but potentially sweet. Actually liquid, but potentially sweet. So you can say it is potentially a sweet liquid. It's not a problem. But to be liquid and to be a steam, these actualities don't come together. Either this or that. بل هي جوهر فعلية بل هي جوهر فعلية وجوده أنه قوة الأشياء. Madde is a substance and its actuality is only this, especially madde ula. Madde ula, the prime matter, hayula, has no actuality. It's 100% passive, just taking. Some philosophers say something which is indeed, according to Ayatollah Misbah, more poetic. But some say it as a real thing. But he says it's more poetic. They say, لا فعلية له إلا أنه لا فعلية له. They say it has no actuality except that it has no actuality. But this is not really actuality. Yeah, it means it is fully potential. They say to be fully potential is actuality, but it's not actuality. You understand? بل هي جوهر فعلية وجوده أنه قوة الأشياء. This is a substance, actuality of its existence, that it is potentiality for other things. وهي لكونها جوهرا بالقوة, because this potential is a substance قائمة بفعلية أخرى. Therefore, it needs to depend on something else. So before that must something that makes it جوهر. إذا حدثت الفعلية التي فيها قوتها. So when that actuality, that it has its potentiality, happens, بطلت الفعلية الأولى. So that first actuality becomes batalat, damaged. Means like what? Liquid right now has fi'liya of liquid. Potential is steam. But when it becomes steam, that liquid, fi'liya of liquid should finish. It cannot remain with fi'liya of liquid and become steam. Either this fi'liya or the other one. When it has this fi'liya